Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to just show you quickly my sandwich combination for the Gemini machine. I'm assuming this will work the same with the Gemini Junior, but I have no experience with the Gemini 2. so this is just for my big Gemini, which is sat to the left of me there. So these are good electronic machines that if you struggle to use the hand crank die cutting machines, then it's a good investment. It saves your hands and your joints and things. So I'm going to show you what I do for mine, and yes, it looks a bit of a mess but this is how I made it work. So if I start with the die cutting, so for the die cutting I actually took some inspiration from Jennifer Maguire for this. I think probably tons of you have done the same thing, where she breaks the rules, and that's exactly what I do here as well. So disclaimer, I've broken the rules here as well, so do that at your own risk as far as the warranty and all that jazz goes. But my machine's very old now, so you know, I'm doing it to make it work for me. So you do that, you do what you do you do what works for you, but just so you know. So like she says in her video, she breaks the rules, so I kind of follow suit because when you get your Gemini, there are a lot of different plates and a lot of different shims and like combinations of things to put your different sandwiches, which is what they call them, to run different things through your machine. So whether it's the multimedia dies, your thin metal dies, embossing folders, stencils, whatever it is. So once you get that sandwich right, you have the right amount of pressure to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. So whether it's die cutting or embossing, etc. So for the die cutting side of it, I actually had, yes, it's a mess. I actually had because I've got the large, the sort of original machine, I had the big plates. So they're sort of 9 by 12 or thereabout. So my husband and I, between us, we managed to cut the clear plate. If I just turn this over, we managed to cut one of the clear plates that was the bottom one, so it was flat. And I would start with new, or I would start with the flattest one. So not, if it's warped, it's not really going to help. So this is also to help prevent warping. So start with new plates or start with the flattest ones that you have. And so we managed to cut it in half. So then I had two sort of roughly 6 by 9 sized plates, which are more manageable for me to physically handle than the big ones. So I had two of the clear plates. So this is this acrylic bit here. Then what I did was I bought a couple of the double-sided cutting plates. So I bought the Gemini Junior ones, which are slightly smaller than 6 by 9, and I basically taped them around the sides to the clear plate. And I've used this a ton, you can see that here. I still keep one as kind of my base, and then I wreck this one. If it gets too bad, this is actually starting to chip off, so it is getting to that point where I need to flip it over. You can, because they're double-sided ones, you can actually then take the tape off, flip it over, and use the other side till it's completely, you know, beyond help. so that's what I will probably do here. So I really probably need to grab another set of these, but this is really good. You don't need anything else. You will put your die, your paper on here, die face down into the paper, put this on top and run it through your machine and die cut it. It works fantastically. Now as you can see, I have used this quite a lot. You can see I've got hardly any warping there, if anything, and I love it. I still use the sort of notion that I have my little pressure point kind of thing. I tried that before, but since taping them, I don't have any of that anyway. I don't even have to worry about it. I did a previous video on that. I might have to go over that again, because some of you don't really didn't seem to understand it, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm not explaining it right. So I'll do that in a separate thing, but this is how I use these in my Gemini. You can, of course, instead of trying to cut your big one in half, you can, of course, buy the Gemini Junior versions, which will be the sort of 9 by 6 size, and then the double-sided die cutting plates. They're kind of like a green tint to them, so you'll know them when you see them online. So that's for die cutting. Works really, really well. So for embossing, now there are, I'm going to sneeze, hold on a second. Excuse me. There are a number of different companies out there that do a number of different 2D and 3D embossing folders. I worked with the ones that I have, because obviously that makes sense, because I can play with them. But this is again a trial and error thing. So I have a little cheat sheet off to the left, which is actually stuck to my machine now, for embossing. So if I start with the 2D embossing folders, so I have, this is a Sizzix 2D embossing folder. It's actually a Tim Holtz range one. I can't remember the name of the embossing folder. And this is a Cuttlebug one. So it's also a 2D embossing folder. So for both of these, I used 2 clear shims and 2 clear plates and 1 shim. Now, let me explain my setup. So my shim, again, I had the original one from my, the big one from the original Gemini, so I cut that in half. So I have 2 shims essentially, but you could grab this sort of frosted shim in the Gemini Junior size, so it's sort of 6 by 9 sort of size. So for this one, for my clear plates, these are actually the Sizzix plates. So they're not the Gemini plates. This is where breaking the rules comes into it, at your own risk and all that jazz. This is actually the plates that you get for your Sizzix Big Shot. Right, so I have 2 here. Yes, this one's well loved, but it still works, so we're going to go with it. These are now used for my embossing, so in the Gemini. So for the 2D embossing folder, I would have put 1 clear plate there, put my embossing folder with the paper in there, so imagine the embossing folder's over that. I also tip it, if I can, if there's space, I will tip it slightly sideways just so it goes through the machine. That goes for dies as well. I would then put either the shim on top and the plate, or vice versa, and then run it through my Gemini. And this is the result for both of these. So these are 2D embossing folders. So then I have a 3D embossing folder. And now the 3D embossing folders are not all the same. So I had to come up with different sandwiches for each of them. So if I start with my Simon Says Stamp one, so this is a Daisy Simon Says Stamp 3D embossing folder. I think most of the embossing folders are 3D, except the there's a different range they have. I can't think what it is. Rainbow range? No, I can't think. Rainbow Splash. So they're not. They're a 2D embossing folder, but most of theirs are 3D embossing folders. So this is a lovely Daisy one. So what I did for that is I used a clear plate and a shim. So I had the embossing folder with the paper in it and a clear shim on top and ran it through. Works perfectly. Again, because it's smaller than the plates, I could tilt it slightly just so it goes through the machine a little easier. So that's for the for the Simon Says Stamp ones. Spellbinders. They also have 3D embossing folders, which I love. Look at this mushroomy one. And so for the Spellbinder one, I actually needed 2 clear plates. So clear plate at the bottom, paper inside the folder, clear plate on top, ran it through. So that's why I say the sandwich that you make up needs to take into account the depth of each of the embossing folders. So there's 3 different types of 3D embossing folders I'm talking about. They're all slightly different thicknesses, so you have to adjust your sandwich accordingly. So that's for my Spellbinders 3D. Then for the Tim Holtz 3D embossing folders, they're a beast of their own. I had to use the clear. Oh, actually, they're very much the same thing as these. Simon Says Stamp, actually. Looking at the shim combo. So I had the clear plate, the embossing folder with the paper inside, and then a shim on top. So that's the same as the Simon Says damp ones actually. But for some reason the Tim Holtz ones feel thicker than even the Simon Says damp ones. I don't know if that's just me, but anyway, so to do all your embossing with your various embossing folders, and you will have to trial and error it, and you will have to, at your own risk, it with your machines. I broke the rules on these, like I say, just like Jennifer did. Just to recap, for embossing folders, 2D or 3D, you'll need a combination of the Sizzix cutting plates, clear cutting plates, and your the frosted Gemini shim is what you'll need a combo of. So because I had this cut in half, I actually have 2 shims, which I don't think I need 2 shims for any of it, but you'll need the plates. So that's for your embossing, whether it's 3D or 2D. And then just to recap, for your die cutting, you need 2 double-sided Gemini cutting plates. I think they come in a pack of 2 anyway. And then you'll need 2 clear cutting plates that are the Gemini version. So all the plates here are Gemini. Not all of them are there. So I hope that was somewhat helpful. It's a bit of a mixed bag of a video, but I thought I'd just do a quick one on this. Trying to use this as, you know, getting my embossing folders to work in my Gemini, especially with all the different brands, has been a little bit frustrating for me, I will say. But I took a risk. I figured it out. It actually didn't take that long to figure out, but yeah, I'm glad I've worked that out now, because I think I will actually get more use out of the machine, especially that my joints are not great anymore either. So I think something like that is a good investment. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, guys, and if you have any of your own hints and tips on this this sort of thing, please pop them in the comments below. That'd be good for us all to hear. And until next time, guys, bye for now.